Good evening and welcome to the 3 Corps and Fort Hood Facebook and TV Town Hall. I'm Lieutenant General Don Campbell, 3 Corps and Fort Hood Commanding General. This is our second Town Hall this year, and as with the previous Town Hall, the purpose of this event is to give you, the soldiers, family members, civilian employees, and our Central Texas community, the opportunity to ask questions and get answers about issues or concerns that affect your daily lives here at the Great Place. We also hope to discover, based on your input, ways that we can improve our great Army community. Right now, we're streaming this event on the 3 Corps and Fort Hood Facebook page, and for those that have Time Warner digital cable, we're broadcasting on KCEN's MyTex channel. As you join us tonight on Facebook or on your TV, we hope that you interact by asking questions via Facebook or calling us at 254-288-4990. We want to hear from you, and we want to provide you with the information that you need. Because our time is limited to 1 hour, we won't be able to answer every question on air. But rest assured, you will get an answer to your question on Facebook. To make sure that happens, we have more than 100 subject matter experts standing by to help us answer your questions. Here are leaders from Fort Hood to help answer the questions we do receive on air. To my left is the Commanding General of the 1st Cavalry Division, Major General Tony Ierardi. I'll turn it over to General Ierardi for some opening remarks.
Sir, thank you for inviting me to participate in tonight's Town Hall. And to those of you viewing, it's a great honor to return to the 1st Cavalry Division to serve with this great unit. It has such a historic lineage, and we're preparing for future missions. A lot of good things going on in the division. It's just great to be back here in Central Texas with the great community that supports our soldiers and their families.
Tony, thanks. We're blessed to have you and Angela and your family here. Next, I'll turn it over to Colonel Pat Sargent, the commander of Carl R. Darnell Army Medical Center. Pat.
Hey, sir, thank you. Good afternoon. It is indeed a pleasure to have the opportunity to share with you once again. I will tell you from the feedback we received from the last town hall, we've made tremendous strides in trying to improve our patient experience along with our satisfaction. We are continuing to work on being the premier medical system in the Army, and this is the process that we use to get after that mission. So thank you for the opportunity to serve, and we look forward to your questions.
And finally tonight we've got Mr. Andy Byrd, the Deputy Garrison Commander. Andy, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, sir. Good evening, everybody. I'm Andy Byrd, the Deputy Garrison Commander for the installation. And the U.S. Army Garrison mission is primarily to ensure that we have top quality services, infrastructure, and programs for all our soldiers, all our families, our civilians, and retirees. While here, you'll hear us call this place the Great Place. And for those of you that may be new, you may not know what the Great Place is, but those returning probably do. It's called the Great Place because of all the great people that work here and live here, not only on Fort Hood, but in our community. We also refer to this as your Army home, and we hope that you'll have a great tour at the Great Place, and then you too will call this your Army home. Thank you, sir. Great.
Thanks, Andy. So, okay, there's your panel. Again, we want to hear from you. You can ask your questions on Facebook, or you can call us at 254-288-4990. So let's get to your questions. I got a Facebook question from Amanda. Is there any way to make sure parents are informed of the regulations regarding where children can play and at what age they can be left unsupervised? It is a big problem. MPs have been called and the NCO, the Community Life Non-Commissioned Officer, notified. None of this has worked. Well, Amanda, I can tell you that we'll take a good look at how we're working on that. I've spent a lot of time with our new Garrison Commander, Colonel Matt Elledge, and with Mr. Byrd, and I'll let him follow up. But I would encourage you to make sure that as you bring it through your Community Life NCO or your specific community, that you also raise that through your chain of command if you're not getting the response. But I'll ask Mr. Byrd to follow up.
Thank you. Well, ma'am, first off, let me just say that we encourage our kids to go out and play. We like them to do that. But we also have a lot of MWR youth centers, community parks, and designated playgrounds. Outside of that, that's pretty much where children should be. So if you see something that may not be right in your mind or something, we do have a neighborhood watch program. And just if you see something, say something. I'd ask that you call 288-COPS, C-O-P-S, and we can send somebody out to that location and see what the issue is with that. Again, we'll also follow up with the Community Life NCO and our Fort Hood Family Housing. Any questions on the policies inside the housing areas? Also, you can call Fort Hood Family Housing at 532-3133.
Amanda, thanks for that question, and Andy for that follow-up. We're committed to making sure that you have a great experience, Amanda, so we'll work on that hard. We got a Facebook question from Jeffrey. My question is in regards to the parking at Bennett Health Clinic. We had an appointment this morning at 8. Luckily, we arrived at 7:30. By 07:30 until 07:45, all the remaining handicap spots were taken by employees at the clinic. The non-handicap spots in the upper parking lot were also taken by employees. I have a disability and 2 small children. I know there is an employee parking lot behind the clinic. Why are people with disabilities having to walk from the overflow parking lot and not the employees? Well, I'll turn that over to Colonel Sargent, but I can assure you, if you will go in when you get there or identify to the folks that work in the clinic that you've got you've got a challenge with parking and you have a disability and a handicap sticker, Jeffrey, we'll work hard to make sure that you get the parking that you need. But I'd ask Colonel Sargent to follow up to see if there's something he can do, and he will do, to make sure you can get a parking spot.
I'd like to echo General Campbell's remarks. We do have employee parking specifically for employees. So if there's a perception or if there's a reality that one of our employees are truly who are not eligible to park in that particular parking space, I'd like for you to get inside the clinic and speak to the OIC of the clinic. We have a security at Darnall that we can go in and kind of help validate those people who are authorized to park in those locations. I will tell you, it's just not Bennett Clinic that has this phenomenon occurring. This is in every location that we have medical assets. And so I would ask that, to your point, if you don't have a physical limitation that doesn't require you to use a parking space and you are eligible to have a handicap parking, I would ask that you park someplace else, because there are a significant amount of beneficiaries of this healthcare system who have mobility issues who really require that parking space. So I would ask for some people's consideration in ensuring that those spaces are available for those who need them. Thank you much, sir.
Okay, Pat, thanks. I want to encourage all of you to make sure that if you get an opportunity to give us a call. I think the number is 288-4990. So please give us a call. We'll take all your questions that we can on air and on Facebook. Stephanie has got a question from Facebook. I have seen this question asked on housing Facebook page with no answer. It has been rumored that those in the WTB are exempt from the cleaning fees when clearing housing. What is the true answer to this question? And that's Stephanie. Thank you for your question. I'll ask Mr. Byrd if he can answer that one.
Stephanie, absolutely yes. You are exempt cleaning fees if you're assigned as a patient to the WTB. What you need to do is take your orders to the Community Life NCO or take it out to Fort Hood Family Housing and let them see your orders that you are a patient and not assigned to the unit in the WTB. And yes, you are exempt cleaning fees. Thanks for your service and thanks for all you've done.
Okay, thanks, Andy. We've got Facebook question from Carl, and his question is, what will the first event for the new stadium be? I'm assuming that's Hood Stadium being built out at the Clear Creek Gate. Well, Carl, I'll turn it over to Mr. Byrd to make sure that I get this right, but if my memory serves me correctly, we're looking at a high school football game here in the next month or so. We're working with Killeen Independent School District for them to be able to play a few games in our facility so that they can free up. And you know, Texas's football is big on Friday nights, so that they don't have to play on a Saturday or Thursday. So I'm pretty sure there'll be a football game, but we'll do all kinds of events there, from concerts to children's activities to track and field to intramurals for our soldiers. And we want to play a little Texas high school football in there. I think I got that right, didn't I, Andy?
Sure, absolutely. Okay. And the opening game is for everybody. Mark your calendars. 12 October, Killeen High School versus Harker Heights. We're not giving any favorites. We're not giving any numbers today. Can't wait to see what happens.
Be a great game.
It will be, sir.
Okay, I think we've got another question on Facebook from Kristen. Her question is, why does the Great Place have a rule at Darnall that you cannot bring your child to appointments or you will be rescheduled? Being this is a deployable post, I find it ridiculous when you are stuck in a bind with a deployed husband, no child care, and are forced to reschedule. I'll ask our great hospital center commander to cover that one. Kristen?
Yes, sir. Christy, first, I would tell you we do strive to be a patient and a family-centric facility. This question comes up often, and I would tell you that we're focused on ensuring that we provide a safe environment for the delivery of medical care. You know, having been deployed 3 times, understand your situation. Our goal would be to work with you on an individual basis to ensure that your appointment is met, because your medical needs come first. That said, I would ask that units that have family readiness groups are in your community to have people step in and kind of help out in those situations. We don't have enough staff and providers to really be able to keep watch over kids when there are some medical procedures being done to the parent. And so that's our primary concern, is the safety and the environment by which we're delivering care. So in a bind, yes, we can support that situation, but as a rule, we would like to have the kids be placed in an appropriate location such that we can deliver medical care properly. So thanks for the question.
Okay, thanks, Kristen. We've got a Facebook question from Lynn. Has traffic flow at Clear Creek and Tank Destroy during peak hours been addressed? This was brought up during the previous town hall. Lynn, we're looking at traffic all over the installation. I'm not sure there's a tremendous solution right now with 30,000 soldiers that have redeployed since last year. Last year at this time we had 30,000 soldiers deployed. We're looking at a number of different ways to try to mitigate and alleviate some of the challenges at the gates. And I'm asking soldiers and family members and civilians to watch their flow as when they come in. I'm encouraging soldiers to stay on the installation when they get here for physical training in the morning and use one of our facilities from a showering standpoint. And we're working to make sure that we have enough, especially when we get our 2 gyms back online on the east side of the post. But as far as Clear Creek and traffic, we've just about maxed out. I know we've maxed out all the gate guards from early in the morning till about mid-morning to make sure we can get the flow. It's really incumbent upon all of us to try to find the right time that we can get in that'll work for our duty hours. But as far as fixing it, I'm not sure, and we're not going to be able to get a new gate anytime in the near future. We're going to have some work done on the front gate over the next couple years, but I hate to tell you, it's probably going to get worse there before it gets better as they move it to 3 lanes going out towards Harker Heights and Killeen. That'll alleviate some of it in a few years, but like I said, it's going to get a little worse. I would ask every soldier, civilian, and family member on the installation to look at your daily schedule and try to work it so that you can come in at a time that'll help you lessen the traffic challenges on the installation. But there's really no good answer right now, Lynn, and I hate to give you the bad news, but there's nothing really good that can be done. But if you've got a suggestion, we'll certainly take it and entertain it. I've talked to young folks all over the installation and have taken suggestions on how we can do work the traffic better, and we're willing to listen. So please send us any suggestion. We'll take a look at it.
So real quick, just to add on to what you said,
sure,
what we're doing, I mean, at the ACPs, Lynn, we've upped the manning at each and every one of those with the help of 3 Corps and the soldiers. We're using soldier skill set utilization program to get more military now at the gates. That's helping us take care of one of the problems, which is called congestion. And during some of those peak hours, and I've been just going through the main gate the last few mornings just to see what it looks like. We talked about this 6 months ago at the last town hall, sir, as you recall. We looked at doing an analysis, and our analysis really is about as good as it's going to get with the road network like it is. We've also looked at the traffic lights. I noted in your comment that you're traveling west down Tank Destroyer trying to make that left turn. We post policemen at all 27 of our most congested intersections, and they're looking at the lights, but they also have to take into account the north-south traffic coming through those ACP points. With the 190 expansion program that we're going to start seeing this fall, one of the things we're also looking at is how to reduce or mitigate some of the congestion. And we're actually even looking at a mass transportation program, sir, that we're going to come to you with. We've seen Fort Benning using this, Fort Bragg is using this. Most of you all that's worked at the Pentagon have seen some sort of a van pool or van sharing. There is a regulation in the Army that says you can get up to about $125 if you do this. So we're going to look at that. Any other ideas you have, let us know. So we'd be more than happy to take those. Remember, it's your community, but one thing you can do for us, and especially for those that are coming through at peak hours, look for alternate gates to come through. I live out in Belton, but I come through the main gate. I can come down Sparta Road and come in one of the back gates and get in just as quickly with about a 5-minute delay, but no traffic. So thanks for your comment.
Thanks, Lynn. We'll continue to work on it to make it better. Okay, we're still heading into break here. We're going to head into break. We'd like to continue to get your questions on Facebook, but please call 288-4990. We'll take your calls. We're here to serve you and to tell you about what's going on at the great place. Thank you.
One of my soldiers committed suicide last year. I had just gotten done speaking to him on the phone, and I gave him some news he had been waiting to hear about a school he had applied for. He was very excited when we spoke, and as far as I knew, everything was going well with him. for a long time I thought, I wonder if there was something that I could have done or said that would have changed the outcome.
Every motor pool on this post is required to have recycled containers, so use it. 80% of your trash is recyclable. If it can go in here, then I don't want to see it in your trash. By 2020, this post is required to be at net zero when it comes to waste. That means eliminating landfills. Leaders at every level must emphasize the importance of recycling, whether it's metal, cardboard, or motor oil. Lean forward and get your units involved. Net Zero 2020. Every day, you have a chance to make the great place greener.
We weren't getting a lot of questions. Welcome back. It's great to have you with us on our TV Town Hall Facebook. We're going to go to Facebook, and Lori's got a question. What are you doing to ensure that all levels of leadership and all soldiers are aware of your updated physical profiles policy? What specifically are you doing to hold commanders accountable who stigmatize soldiers who have physical profiles and pressure them to violate them? What methods of redress do soldiers have if they are pressured to violate their profile? Lori, that's a great question. Thank you for asking that. A number of things. I'm holding in my hand my surgeon policy signed by me that talks to physical profiles in soldiers' ability to work through profiles. I encourage a dialogue. What am I doing? I'm talking to commanders. They have my policy. I've had multiple meetings with great leaders like General Ierardi on my left to talk about my concerns about making sure that we make the great place a place where soldiers are not stigmatized, where they have the opportunity to come forward, get the support they need, and then get back into the formation. And I'm pushing that down to every level that I can get to when I go to the company commander, first sergeant course, and when I'm talking to brigade commanders, battalion commanders, or any leader. And I'd ask General Ierardi to talk a little bit about that and what he's doing at the 1st Cavalry Team to help with that.
Well, sir, as you know, we're emphasizing training for our leaders, especially in the company commanders and first sergeants course, to ensure that they understand the importance of this. Having soldiers who know that they're an important part of the team always and will be cared for and can have the opportunity to heal and, as you said, return to the fight is a very, very important part of what we're doing. Focusing on our soldiers and their families and ensuring they have what they need so that they can contribute to the readiness of the division and quickly recover from their profile.
Thanks, Tony. I will just tell you that the key is that every soldier, family member, civilian, anybody that comes on the installation should be treated with dignity and respect. And we will do our best to make sure that that occurs and that we create an environment where soldiers, family members, civilians, whatever the case may be, come forward and seek support. We've got to get there from here as an Army and as an installation and as a great place. Got a call from Nancy on line 1. Nancy, please go ahead. Thank you for your call.
Sir, when will the new hospital be finished?
Nancy, great question. It's about 2015, but I'll let Colonel Sargent give you a little bit more details on that from a timeline standpoint.
Hey, Nancy, thanks for the question. As the General said, 2015, summer 2015, we will find that the hospital will be completed. We are about, right now, 95% with the design of it, and we're about 20 to 30% completion with the actual build. You'll see cranes out operating. We're pouring concrete as we speak. But that facility is going to be a phenomenal addition to this community. It's going to enable us to really get after the patient-centric focus that we have. The question that came in earlier about parking, that facility is going to have 5,200 parking spaces associated with it. Both covered as well. So there's heat in Texas, you'll have covered parking also, and then an employee parking, so we can really separate and distinguish the two relative to who should park where. But from a clinic environment and just a world-class facility. So thank you for the question, and I look forward to that facility coming online for the community.
Thank you, Nancy. We've got a question from Erica on Facebook, and it is, employees at the ID card department are rude. I've been there 3 times since we lived here. I have put in an ICE complaint, but no one got back to me. What can you do about this? Well, I can assure you, Erica, I will have Mr. Bird contact you personally if you'll leave us a number or some contact information through Facebook tonight, and I'll have Mr. Byrd personally get in touch with you to have a dialogue about your concerns with our ID card department and the lack of action from an ICE standpoint, because I will tell you, I get the ICE feedback every 2 weeks. I take a good look at it, and I have a dialogue with either Mr. Byrd or Colonel Elledge on what we can do to improve our services here at the Great Place. So that feedback is very important to us. Anything you want to add, Andy?
Thank you, sir. And Erica, you can call me tomorrow morning at 288-3451. We have a DHR representative, our Director of Human Resources, sitting up in our Facebook. Make sure he gets your information because, yes, sir, we do pride ourselves on our soldier and family support at Copeland Center. And Charlie Green and his team do a phenomenal job over there with what they're doing and the folks they support. So if something like this happened, Eric, I got to go back and look into that and see what slipped up in the system, because we get a good return on investment on those ICE comments, and we take your comments and we do make changes. So thank you for your input.
Thank you, Erica. We'll work hard to earn your trust. I think I've got a question on Facebook from Herbie, it looks like. It says, Representative John Carter said Fort Hood could lose 40,000 jobs by this fall. Fall is only a month away. This could prove to have a severe economical impact on the surrounding communities. What is Fort Hood and 3 Corps doing to prevent this from happening or lessen the impact on communities? Herbie, great question. I kind of knew when I saw that today that we may get a question about that. I can tell you that while not speaking for the congressman or for the department, and I'll ask General Ierardi to talk a little bit about that because he's got some experience having just come from the Pentagon. I've got no guidance from the department. I'm not trying to pass on the responsibility or from Forces Command relative to anything related to sequestration, and I believe that's what the congressman's talking to. It would be physically impossible to have 40,000 soldiers walk out, as you've indicated, walk off the post or civilians in the next couple months. Without any guidance from the department, I know they're working with the Department of Defense and others, but up until we get further guidance, I would just tell you, we're going to continue to evaluate the situation. We're going to continue to work with Forces Command and the Department of the Army and continue to serve here at the Great Place with our almost 6,000 plus soldiers and family members and our great Army civilians and our retirees. Anything you want to add, Tony?
Sir, I would only add that Fort Hood is a very, very important Army installation, and a lot gets done here at Fort Hood for the Army. So the Army will make an assessment at some point in time in the future. There's been no decisions or no announcements, and we'll continue to focus on our mission here at this Great Place.
Great point. And I would just reiterate, no decision, no guidance, and we're focused on the mission and training our great soldiers and taking care of family members and retirees and our great civilians. Okay, I've got a question from Sean on Facebook. I have a question about the gate at Warrior Way and the South Young Drive next to the end of the airfield. They have 6 available lanes and only 3 to 4 lanes have been open the last few weeks. Is this a temporary issue or long-term due to budgeting or other circumstances? Sean, it should only be temporary because my guidance to the Garrison team is that in the morning we man all the gates to the max extent that we can. So if we're only putting 3 or 4 guards out there, then we're not doing what I've directed to occur. I'll ask Mr. Byrd to take a look at that and address your question if there's something.
Yes, sir, we will take a look at that because that's one of our primary gates coming in from that area. And if all lanes need to be open during those peak hours, we've manned it with civilian police or civilian guards, and if we're not doing the right thing, I just need to blow into that with our DES and see what's going on out there, sir.
Well, Sean, thanks for that feedback. We'll take a good look at it. I've got a call on line 1. I think it's Lalonza.
Alonzo, sir.
Okay, go ahead.
How you doing, sir? Recently, General Ordiono mentioned that the Army would be downsizing, and he specifically talked about brigade headquarters, elements may go away. Just wondering if how that's going to affect Fort Hood and if it's going to affect us sooner than later, and just what's in the plan.
Well, no, that's a great question. I can tell you that General Odierno and this great leader to my left were working that when he was in the Pentagon. The Army is going to have to downsize to some degree. As you know, we're going to go from an Army active duty at 570,000 to about 490,000 over the next 5+ years. And as a part of that, we will have to lose some structure, read brigade type units and others. And this leader to my left was working that in the Pentagon, so I'll ask him to address that, but I can assure you that as General Ierardi indicated earlier, Fort Hood is seen as one of the premier installations in the Army. And to the extent that as we can protect the formations here, we'll do it, but we'll have to do our part when we get the orders from the Army. But I don't believe that you'll see a large number of cuts. I don't believe that you'll see a large number of soldiers or civilians. Fort Hood has, in the eyes of the Army, is one of the premier installations. And I'm pretty comfortable telling you that we'll maintain a number between a good number of soldiers and family members that will stay here at the great place. And I'll ask General Ierardi just to expand on that, since he came from the Pentagon a couple months ago.
Sir, as you noted, the Army will draw down, as has been announced, by about 80,000 soldiers. It's an opportunity for the Army, if the decision is taken and announced, to reorganize our brigades, to make them more capable, and to give the brigades more capability to perform their missions. As General Campbell noted, there will be some structure changes that may affect the numbers of brigades, but generally speaking, the brigades will have more capacity and more capability. An additional maneuver battalion, more fires, more logistics, and will be able to cover a greater range of missions that the Army will ask us to cover in the future. So it's really about building capability and capacity in a new force to meet evolving and new future security environments.
Mm-hmm. Hey, thanks, Tony. Okay, we got a question from Elizabeth. What, if any, impact has the recent opening of Seton Medical Center in Harker Heights and the Scott and White Urgent Care Clinic had on Darnell? Have the wait times for emergency department been reduced? Pat, I'll turn it over to Colonel. I'll turn it over to you.
Hey, thanks for the question. No, it has zero impact on the quality of care or delivery care for our healthcare system. In fact, we believe that it's additive to have additional medical resources in the community to provide support to our soldiers. We are doing a neat redesigns within our emergency room to reduce our wait time. This question, again, comes up pretty often, and we have addressed the wait time in ED relative to creating what we call a green zone, so those folks who have less urgent conditions can move over to a side of the ED and get seen, versus those folks who have more urgent needs that need to be required to be seen in the rear with some clinicians. What we do see, though, is a lot of people coming to the ED that really truly do not need ED type services. And so what we would encourage folks to do is to call our nurse advice line, to also seek care from their primary care clinic. That will enable us to be able to keep our wait down to a manageable number, so that we can get people in and out, but also just to be able to see those urgent folks. But again, the Seton and the other facilities within the community are added value to all of our beneficiaries, so we appreciate their support.
Okay, Pat, thanks. I just want to go back to the previous question relative to transformation on the call-in line, and just reiterate what General Ierardi said, which is your Army is going to continue to do its best, and certainly at the Fort Hood, to take care of soldiers and family members as we work our way through that transformation. One of the ways is to do this TV, Facebook town hall. So we listen to you, listen to your concerns, take a look at what we can do to get better. And I can assure you, after the last TV town hall, Facebook, that we looked at your concerns, your questions, even your complaints, and said, what can we do to make the great place even better? So we'll continue to work on that. And as we look at the great place, I can assure you that we're doing all we can to make sure that Fort Hood remains the great place, and in the eyes of the Army, it will always be the great place. I want to thank, as we head into the break here in just a minute, our KCEN and our Divots team out of Atlanta for helping us to communicate with everyone during the TV Town Hall Facebook tonight. I want to thank the organizations that are supporting the Town Hall, KCEN's My Text channel, and our Facebook team nationally in supporting this wonderful concept. And I appreciate all of you signing on tonight and asking us questions. I'd continue to urge you to give us a call at 288-4990. We're here for you. Thank you very much.
National Immunization Awareness Month in August is the perfect time to promote immunization and remind everyone to ensure they are fully protected against disease. Immunizations aren't just for children. Everyone over the age of 6 months needs a seasonal flu shot. Command Sergeant Major Brock and I urge you to do your part in August and get your vaccinations. As the Army's first line of defense, we need you to set the standard. So don't wait, vaccinate. Serving to heal, honored to serve.
Phantom 6 here. Fort Hood is working toward a net zero waste goal to eliminate waste across the installation. Every day, more than 80 tons of trash ends up in our landfill. That weight is equivalent to about 1 Abrams tank and 5 Humvees per day. We have a major undertaking to reduce waste, repurpose waste, and maximize recycling so we can eliminate the need for a landfill by 2020. And we need everyone's help to achieve this. Recycling is one of our ways our community can join in the effort for Net Zero Waste 2020. Remember, environmental stewardship is important at all levels. Net Zero Waste 2020 every day. You have the chance to make the great place greener.
I had a friend who I used to go swimming with all the time. And when we went, we used to always laughing around, just great attitude, positive guy. And the next day, after we went out swimming one day, he shot himself. And his parents found out that he shot himself because the bullet went through the wall into the room. There were no warning signs. At least that's what we thought at first, but the reality could have been that maybe we weren't looking. It's about caring. It's about showing people that they can trust you enough to open up to you.
Okay, welcome back to our Fort Hood Facebook TV Town Hall. I'd still encourage all of you to give us a call at 288-4990. In the interim, we've got a call from Kirsten on Facebook, or a question on Facebook.
Your call has been...
When is Fort Hood going to install dog parks? Other posts have them, but I've not seen anything here yet. Kirsten, great question. We talked about that at the last town hall. The Garrison commander and team have briefed me. We've got a plan, and I'll ask Mr. Bird to explain that plan to you.
Christian, that's a great question. And what we've done since the last town hall is we have identified and we've located 2 dog parks. And one dog park will be located in the vicinity of the Clear Creek and Battalion Avenue intersection, out on the northwest side by the golf course. And we're putting a second dog park nestled nicely between Patton Park and Chaffee Village. That was based off community involvement and also doing an area development plan with some of our urban collaborative groups that come down here. Each one of those will be done by January of this next year. So January, February 13th, you'll have dog parks. There'll be 2 very large dog parks. We'll have them fenced off for large dogs and small dogs. We'll have some great amenities there. We'll have water hooked up there. We'll also have the ability to let dogs run free there. And we'll put the, I'll call it the pooper scooper bag collector thing so that you can clean up the dog park after you. The thing we're looking at though is we've got them built. We're going to be looking for folks to sponsor it or take ownership of it. We'll sustain it at the Garrison. Our DPW will come out and do the work orders on it. But we just need units or organizations that want to volunteer or take ownership of those 2 dog parks in those vicinity to contact our DPW or our Fort Hood Family Housing at 532-3133. And that's where we need your help right now. So we want to get those things going by January, sir. Looking forward to the ribbon cutting. And we want to see all the dogs out there.
Thanks, Andy. Thanks for that question, Kirsten. We'll keep working it and get those dog parks moving in the right direction. I've got Tim on line 3. Tim, go ahead.
Hey, how's it going, sir? My question is, as the war slows down, what will First Cav begin to focus on, and what will the mission be in the future?
Hey, I got the right man to give you the answer to that question, Tim. I got the Pegasus 6 sitting to my left. I'll ask him to answer that one.
Thanks, Tim. As you noted, we do anticipate the demand for our forces in Afghanistan to be reduced. However, that mission is still priority number 1 and will continue to focus when and if we deploy soldiers to that mission, they'll be prepared to do it. In the future, there's a need for our forces to be ready to respond to a range of potential requirements. And what I can tell you is that the division will be ready to meet those requirements. We'll continue to train. We'll be training on tasks that may be different than are just normally associated with counterinsurgency as we have in the past several years. We'll expand that. We'll focus on mounted and dismounted maneuver proficiency and other skills that will allow our formations to be able to accomplish a greater range of tasks. We anticipate being regionally aligned across the Army to support combatant commanders and be able to develop skills to assist and enable commanders in the accomplishment of their tasks. So the future is going to be interesting, it's going to be exciting, and the 1st Cav Division, I can tell you, will be at the forefront of it.
Thanks for that question, Tim. Okay, we're going to go to Jamie on Facebook, and the question is, where can I go to get help with dealing with my combative teenager while my husband is deployed? We have talked to a counselor, and it did no good. They told him that it was my fault and that he was not to blame. Well, I will tell you there's a lot of resources on the installation from the Garrison side to the medical center, and I'd asked Colonel Sargent to see if he could help with the first part of that question, and then see if Mr. Berg could chime in from some of the resources we have on the Garrison side.
Yes, I would tell you from a standpoint of being evaluated, I don't know the specifics of what happened in that engagement with the provider and that type of dialogue. So I would ask that if you would contact us at the hospital at 288-8001, and we can get some more fidelity towards what you're trying to achieve as it relates to getting your kids the care that they require. But we have increased our child psychiatry department, and we have more resources available. We understand at Fort Hood that when you wound a warrior or you deploy a soldier, you will impact the family. And so we have a behavioral health system of care on this installation that has the capacity to support all service members and family members throughout all forms of the R4Gen cycle. So I would ask and encourage folks that particularly with kids, to call our child and adolescent psychiatry department, and it's at 286-7820, and we can get you the support that you deserve and require. Thank you.
Anything you want to add, Andy?
So all I do is help direct. Maybe we can get you some help through the chaplain's office. We have some counselors there that could work with you, and we also probably get you in touch with our Army Community Service folks. A good number to reach would be call 287-CARE, that's C-A-R-E, 287-CARE, and they'll get you into the right people. Okay? Thank you, Jamie.
Great. Let's go to Alex on line 2.
My question is regarding the post policy about Thursdays. What is the actual post policy for releasing soldiers on Thursdays, and what are the exceptions which commanders can use or do use to release soldiers later on Thursdays?
Alex, excuse me, I appreciate you asking that question. Got a little frog in my throat. I do have a policy. In fact, I'm reviewing that policy again to make sure that it meets the intent of what I want it to do, which is make sure that all soldiers that are not in a deployment cycle, but those that meet the criteria, get released at 1500 so they can spend time with their families. And even if they're in a deployment cycle and not serving in the field, we ought to do what we can from a reasonable standpoint to support that policy. I have delegated it down to the first general officer in the chain of command, and that'll be coming out soon, that will make that call. But I put a lot of emphasis on that in talking to commanders and leaders around the installation. The bottom line is on 1500, 3 p.m. on Thursdays, my guidance is to release soldiers so they can go home and spend time with their families to do the things that they need to do because of all the things that you have been doing in serving your country for the last 10, 11 years and the number of trips I'm sure many of you and or your buddies have made to and from combat. So the intent is to give you that time. Additionally, we work very hard to make sure that you get home by 1800 to eat dinner with your family when possible. That being said, you've got to understand that if you're in a deployment cycle getting closer to that window, there's a training requirement. We want to make sure that you're certified to go. There will be cases where not everybody gets family time. That's just going to happen. The key for me, Alex, is predictability, to make sure that soldiers have and family members predictability so they can focus and they know when their soldier's going to be able to come home and when they're not going to be able to come home, and it's because of a very good reason determined by a leader that has the level to make that decision. I've talked too much, but I'll ask General Ierardi if he'd like to just reiterate that and what he's doing in the first team to support that.
Sir, we have re-emphasized the policy. That's the family first policy to ensure that any requests to train after 1,500 on Thursday are assessed by a general that we have the right oversight. But it really is the exception. The intent, as General Campbell described, is to allow soldiers a degree of predictability in their lives and an opportunity to spend time with their families. And I would say the same applies to weekend training as well. Only when approved at the appropriate authority and only when we deem it to be an absolutely necessary requirement and planned well enough in advance that the soldiers have an ability to take it into account and to plan for it and their families.
Okay, Alex, thanks for that call. We'll keep working hard to make sure that the team out there supports the policy. Got a question from Maggie on Facebook. Soldiers who are going through medical evaluation boards aren't allowed to have some of the treatment or any surgery that they need. Why can't soldiers who are injured in the Army get the care they need from the Army? How can you tell soldiers to get treatment from the VA when you know they aren't providing the services needed? Well, Maggie, I can assure you that at the Great Place, in working with Colonel Sargent, our hospital center commander, that we work very hard to make sure that soldiers get the care and the surgery that they require. I would tell you, if you've got a specific example or a concern, please bring it to his attention or to mine, and we'll do what we can to support your soldier or the individual that you know. And I'll turn it over to Colonel Sargent, who can expand on the answer or answer your question probably better than I can.
Yes, sir. Thank you much. There is a MedCom policy, particularly for soldiers in the IDES and the WTB process, that we provide the medical treatment that's required for the condition that they're in the IDES for. And so the inference of your question is about elective surgeries. Surgeries that has an elective nature to it, in the sense that it doesn't impact that person's IDES requirements. And so the other part that you said was that about the services being provided in the VA. The VA is arguably one of the largest and best healthcare systems in America. And any soldier who leaves the Army will have eligibility through a line of duty to be able to get that treatment. And we have case managers who could help facilitate a soldier's capacity and ability to get that care at the VA once they leave the Army. But we do have exceptions, as you noted, and those exceptions are approved by myself and the DCCS. And yes, we have approved surgeries for soldiers who are in the IDES or in the WTU to receive care that they require and deserve, as you stated. Thanks, sir.
Thanks, Pat. I will tell you that if you've got a specific case or challenge, Maggie, please get with Colonel Sargent or me, because we want to make sure that a loved one or you or whatever the concern is gets the care that they need and deserve. Okay, look, I want to thank all of you for being on tonight. We still got another minute after 15 minutes after this break. So we're still going to take your questions on Facebook and at 288-4990. But I want to acknowledge the sacrifices that all of our great spouses out there and family members are making as they support their soldier. Thanks so much for all you do to support your soldier and the Great Place. We appreciate your sacrifice.
Every day, over 80 tons of trash ends up in our Fort Hood landfill.
We need to reverse this trend because, frankly, our environment can't sustain it. Fort Hood has a goal to eliminate all waste across the installation by 2020. That's only 8 years from now. Each of us has a part in this, and we can start today by reducing the waste we generate and recycling everything we can.
It may take a bit more effort and even a few more seconds of time, but if it means eliminating this landfill, I'm more than willing to put forth the effort.
Environment is important at every level, and as a younger generation of soldiers serving our great nation, we have the most to gain by helping Fort Hood achieve its goal to eliminate waste and close the landfill by 2020.
80% of the trash we generate is recyclable, and currently only 44% makes it to the recycling center. It's up to us to take advantage of these convenient resources.
Let's each do our part and demonstrate that once again, no mission is too hard for the American soldier.
Net zero by 2020.
Someone I knew was involved in a motorcycle accident. He was in a coma for a couple of months. And when he finally came to, he kind of, observed himself and realized, hey, I don't have a leg, and I have to wear this headpiece. This is not how I want to live. I got 2 young boys. And I was just like, I need you. I need you here. I need you with me. And the option for us to give up is not here. And I put it as a team, so he didn't have to feel like he was alone. He was in it with me. I was in it with him. I needed him to survive. I needed him to make it.
Welcome back to our second Fort Hood Facebook TV Town Hall. We got a question on Facebook from Leanna. I want to do home daycare on Fort Hood. How do I do that? When are the classes, and where's the daycare to take my kids to? I'll ask Mr. Bird to address that, and he may have to turn you over to our Facebook team upstairs, but he'll do the best he can.
Well, yeah, that's a great question. We have 8 child development centers in and around Fort Hood. Depending upon what community you live in, you can get your kids into that child development center. If you also want to be a daycare provider and also do the home provider, we can get you classes and get you accredited to do that. But I'd ask that you contact our Child Youth School Services, Wyvita Phillips, or our ACS and MWR. They can put you in contact with the right people and get you into the right CDC. Depending upon your kids' ages and types of children you have, there may or may not be any wait for all the CDCs. We've brought 2 more online just this last couple of weeks, and we're packed house, but we're doing okay. So thanks for your question, and we appreciate your wanting to have a passion to help us. Thank you.
Okay, we're going to go to Facebook. I've got a question from Jessica. I live in Walker Village, right off of Central Drive, which is the main road to the village from Main Post. Cars are constantly speeding by. I have small children, and so do many of my neighbors. What can you do to help? Jessica, I can tell you that safety and security of all of our family members, and certainly soldiers and civilians, is very important to me. I meet with, once again, Mr. Bird and Colonel Elledge, and we talk quite a bit about that. We've got a new Director of Emergency Services, and just like his predecessor, Colonel Pat Williams, Colonel Rob Dillon is going to be very aggressive in making sure that he provides a safe and secure environment here at the Great Place. What I would encourage you to do, if you have a specific concern related to your village and your neighborhood, is that you share that not only with your community life NCO, your chain of command, but certainly call our Director of Emergency Services and let them know. Based on your question tonight, we'll take a good look at it, and I'll get Colonel Dillon, Mr. Bird, and Colonel Elledge to take a look. But we appreciate your support and your concern to make sure that we make the Great Place safe. Thank you. Okay, I've got a question from Shelley on Facebook. Shelley, why is there a double standard when I maintain my yard and other neighbors do not, but I get in trouble? Shelley, I'm going to lead off in that, and I'll turn it over to Mr. Bird. Yours truly personally drives through a lot of the neighborhoods many times over a month period. As does Command Sergeant Major Coleman, as does Sergeant Major Galt, as does Colonel Elledge and others. If you've got a concern that a neighbor or somebody in the neighborhood is not being held to the same standard that you are, I would just ask that you raise it once again through the chain of command that supports your village to the Community Life NCO, and we'll get after it. But I'm encouraging all our great soldiers and families that live on the installation to take care of their property that they have been granted to rent and to take care of the yards. But if you're being held to a different standard or somebody's not taking care of their yard, raise it through the chain of command properly and we'll get it addressed. But I can assure you we take that very seriously. Anything you want to add, Andy?
Sure, then just contact the Community Life NCO, and I know he can work that with you. And our Command Sergeant Major at Garrison, he's out in the neighborhoods all the time. We'll make sure we get someone by to see you. Thank you.
Okay, we still got a little time to take some phone calls, so we're at 288-4990. Please give us a call if you got a question. I'm going to go to Facebook. David's got a question. Why continue to ban certain breeds, I'm assuming you're talking about dogs, when it is proven it is the individual and not the animal's fault if it's aggressive? Well, David, I'm not an expert on what dogs have been banned, but I do know the dogs that have been banned are done through the Department of the Army and guidance that we get. I don't decide which dogs are banned. I know that's a decision at the department level, and I'm not trying to advocate responsibility. But if you've got a certain breed or a concern of the dog that you would like to bring on post, I would suggest you adjust it with your chain of command or with the Garrison team. Have I got that about right, Andy?
Yes, sir, and we do have that exact Department of the Army policy which lists those 6 breeds and the criteria that determine them as aggressive dogs. The day that policy came out, we were able to grandfather in the aggressive breed dogs that were on post before the policy came in. Every one of those dogs have been registered on post, and if they ever show any aggressive behavior, then we'll ban them from post and send them off. Each resident is allowed to have up to 3 pets in their house or 3 dogs in their house, so and that's Army-wide. So thank you, David.
Thanks for that question, David. Okay, we've got a question from Stevie on Facebook. The mother-baby unit at Darnall has the smallest rooms on the planet. Are you going to expand these rooms anytime soon or just wait for the new hospital? I'll turn it over to Colonel Sargent.
Yeah, I'm smiling because I've spent some time in those rooms when I go by to greet the parents, and they are pretty small. As you know, this is a very old facility, and it's not going to be renovated to be able to increase those particular rooms. We are going to wait on the new rooms and the new facility, and I will tell you that those rooms are much larger, and I believe that you'll find them to meet your liking. So bear with us for the time being, but we really want to make sure that the environment and also the services that we provide, that patient experience, we want to work on those things that we can control. That space is a little bit dated, I agree with you, and we're going to continue to try to create an environment, though, that you can be proud of to have your kid. Thanks for that question, though.
Thanks, Stevie. Okay, I've got, I think, Miguel on line 1.
Yes, sir. I would just like to know what we are doing to ensure that soldiers with PTSD and traumatic brain injury aren't deploying.
That's a great question, Miguel. I can tell you that we're doing a lot here at the Great Place to make sure that soldiers get properly screened according to the Department of the Army and Medical Command policies as it relates to traumatic brain injury and post-traumatic stress syndrome. I've done a lot of work with Colonel Sargent over the last year to make sure that we put the policies and the procedures in place to make sure that soldiers don't deploy with those type of injuries and or concerns. If you've got a specific example of somebody that is being deployed, please let us know, because we want to make sure that the soldiers that are going to combat and are deploying are trained, they're ready, and they're well led, but most importantly that they're mentally and physically fit to go. And I'll turn it over to Colonel Sargent real quick to see if he's got anything to add.
Yes, sir. I would tell you we are profiling soldiers appropriately in the sense that if they require treatment, they're not deploying. And General Campbell is an ardent supporter of that, and he has briefed brigade commanders across this installation on that particular requirement. Those services that are required for folks that have PTSD and TBI exist on this installation. We have a phenomenal TBI clinic that has had significant success with helping folks address their issues with TBI. Likewise, our behavioral health department, they are ready and available and have all the applicable assets available to provide people the care that they need. Likewise, if you go to our website and go to our behavioral health site, you'll see where we have additional resources on the community, Vets for Warriors, Operation Homefront, and Military One Source, where you can get behavioral health care in a confidential fashion, such that you is not seen by us in the military community or your chain of command. So as a means of trying to address the stigma, sir, we have services and resources available in the community where a person can go and seek that care that they deserve and they need. But if you have anyone that you know are suffering in silence, we implore you to get them to the appropriate medical care that they deserve. So thanks for the question.
Thanks, Stevie. I'm going to go to Facebook. I got a question from Tracy. It says, General Campbell, would you please cancel PT on the 27th of August for the first day of school? Tracy, your wish is granted. Physical training is canceled on the 27th of August so that family members can accompany their child to school on the first day of school, the 27th of August. So you asked and we're delivering. But seriously, Tracy, we already had established that. I put that word out, and I know that my teammates to my left and right here and all over the installation are going to support that. So thanks for your question and your concern. I'm going to go to Missy on Facebook. Missy asks, what is the best way for a military spouse to find out about military contracts on the base? Andy, can you help me with that one?
Sir, our contracting command here on Fort Hood maintains all the contracts and listing of contracts that we hold here. There's other centralized contracts that are maintained at other installations or at contracting command. For example, our DPTMS is under a PEO strike contract, which is out of Orlando. So some contracts may not be here. That's a great question, Missy. Sometimes it's tough to say where you find those contracts from, but if you get a hold of our Mission Installation Contracting Command, we have an office right here in the headquarters of 3 Corps on the first floor, actually right across the hall from where we're broadcasting tonight. We can get you that number. you can contact them and they'll have somebody that can come talk to you about those. And if you're interested in pursuing a contract, they can tell you where to go and how to get competitively into the system. Thank you for your question.
Let's go to Hank on line 2 quickly. Go ahead, Hank.
Yes, sir. In reference to the downsizing or the reduction in force of the Army from 570K to 490K in the next 3 years, if Fort Hood has 10% of the force, that's an 8,000 amount, and we're at a 40,000 level right now as far as troops go. That's a 20% downsize. So over the next 3 years, what's the plan for Fort Hood to accumulate or realize that fact of life, sir?
Yeah, Hank, great question. I'm going to have to answer that pretty quickly because I'm running out of airtime, but I can tell you that we work with a lot of different entities, from downtown folks to folks in the Department of the Army and Forces Command, to make sure that Fort Hood maintains a status and is looked at as a premier installation. I work that very closely with Mr. Byrd and Colonel Elledge. General Ierardi on the left is going to be helping me a lot too. As far as the numbers, I've been given no numbers from the Department of the Army. I think it's a little early to assume a certain percentage based on a percentage that are going to come out of the Army. It won't be that way. It will not be cookie slice or slice of pie. I can guarantee you that it'll be done with dignity, respect, and compassion, and that General Odierno is looking very hard at the guidance that he's going to give to make sure that we get this right and that we do it the right way in taking care of soldiers and families. I just don't see it the way you do it from a number standpoint, and I got about 20 seconds to ask General Ierardi if he could just jump on that, highlight it. Thank you.
Sir, thanks for the question. It's over a 5-year period, and I think General Campbell captured it. It's going to be decisions that are forthcoming. You can't just, it won't be a salami slice. It's not based on percentages or proportion per post.
Okay, look, I want to thank all of you again, but I do have to say something for Heather because she says, I just wanted to say thank you. I have no major complaints about Fort Hood. Coming from Korea, this place is the breath of fresh air. Thank you for that comment, Heather. We'll continue to work hard to earn your trust and the trust of all our great soldiers, family members, and civilians out there, and our retirees. Thanks again for doing this tonight. It's been great to have General Ierardi, Colonel Sargent, and my good friend, Mr. Andy Byrd. We thank you for all you do out there. Continue to send us your cards and letters. We work for you. We serve you. God bless you. Phantom Warriors, Army Strong.
Army Strong.